All right, chat. Without further ado, history's weirdest jobs. I like men. Here we go.
Ridiculous jobs that no longer exist. In this day and age, we really take for granted just how quick and easy it is to be able to communicate. Back in the days of yore, not everyone was rolling around at the speed of sound. It could take several weeks to be able to relay critical information to your buddies, and a lot can change in just a few weeks. Nevertheless, delayed information was better than no information at all, and that's why highly trained long-distance messengers could make or break empires. First used thousands of years ago in ancient times, couriers were the best and fastest form of communication pretty much up until the invention of the telegraph.
Would you guys like having this job? I don't know. I feel like you could get some like really sick ass like views and like adventures with it, but I feel like it would just be like so draining. I feel like how this guy's mentioning that we're so quick with communication. It doesn't matter how quick we get with communication, bro. There will always be that one person in our lives that it literally feels like when we text them, it's like we're giving a letter to the fucking pigeon on our arm and just sending them off into the wind. Just caw, caw, like, and that deadass won't respond for like 3 business weeks, bro. You may as well send little Timmy with a note running to Alaska from Ohio to deliver a handwritten message. That's what it feels like texting them, bro.
In 1837. Sure, boats and trains made things a tad bit faster, but the principle was pretty much unchanged, physically transporting documents from point A to point B. The earliest and most sophisticated courier system of its time was that of the massive and girthy Achaemenid Empire, also known as, or at least considered to be, the first Persian Empire. They constructed the Angarium, a series of relay stations littered across the Royal Road, the main vein of the empire. This connected 2 major cities within the empire, Susa and Sardis. Can you deliver this message to Sardis? Yeah, no problem at all. Sardis, no. The Royal Road stretched across 1,700 miles of the empire's western half, with patrolling guards and security stations at regular intervals, making it heavily secured. I mean,
Dude, how fucking sick would it be to live in the medieval times with castles and shit? Like, imagine just going on a conquest on horseback every day of your life. Like, imagine being a knight. Like, actually being a knight in shining armor. How badass would that be? I mean, sure, the quality of life must be, like, fucking miserable, but I don't even know. I don't know. Bro, being in the medieval times must have been so sick.
It had to be. Messengers traveling down the road were carrying the orders from the Great King himself, so they were pretty important. Anyone severing or intercepting that line of communication could cause devastating effects. Also at regular intervals were checkpoints. These were relay stations that housed freshly charged horses as well as other messengers ready to pass things along down the line.
What did he just take out of the horse's butt right there?
This system of stations dropped delivery time from roughly 90 days on foot to just 7 to 9 days on horseback. But what if you didn't have horses? Well, we'd have to ask the Inca. Jump forward 2,000 years to the 1500s, and not much has changed in the ways of communication. In fact, one could argue that it was way worse. With no horses around, Incan runners instead relied on their piggies. Messengers of the king, called the Chasquis, were slim, fit, and ready to rip, carrying messages across the vast mountainsides of the—
What's the game plan if you're a message carrier? Do you like split it up so we're like, okay, I'm gonna run for an hour and then like maybe a light jog or maybe even a walk? Or are you just walking the whole way there? Because then you gotta sleep. Like, I feel like if you run more, you gotta sleep more. Your body gets more tired. Bro, I'm probably gonna be on, I'm gonna light walk the whole, or just normally walk the whole way there. I don't know if I'm gonna run.
The Inca Empire. Unlike their Persian counterparts, the Inca didn't carry the messages in their pockets, but rather their noggins. And that's because the Inca did not have any formal written language. Wild, right?
Yo, I would be so fucking bad at this, dude. I could never play telephone back in like middle school. Jesus, dude, I would forget the message and they would just execute my dumbass on site. I'd run, spend like 50 days traveling this message between empires. I'd get there and I'd be like, and then they just kill me. Like I wouldn't even get a second job. Like I'd get hired and then I'd do one message and then I'm dead.
Instead, apart from some complex numerical systems involving tied knots of string, everything was spoken, so a strong memory was the key to getting the right message across. The Chasquis were tasked with relaying the king's orders to nearby provinces and military commanders. Tell the soldiers that they're doing a solid job and to keep up the great work. Yes, my king. The Inca, though, did rely on relay stations to always have a fresh pair of legs ready to deliver a message. According to Spanish chroniclers, that's a fun word to say, each station was about a half a league apart, but could be as far as a league and a half.
A league? What's
That's
a league?
over 5 miles, or for you metric fellas, over 832,000 centimeters. The stations were more or less weather-resistant small huts with other Chasquis standing.
I feel like 5 miles isn't that much. Is that not crazy? I feel like 5 miles is like kind of light work. I mean, it probably takes like, if you were a trained runner or message deliverer, it probably takes you, like, what's the average pace for a mile? Probably 10 minutes for a really fit person at the least. At the least 10 minutes. That's only 50 minutes of running, like a nice jog. I feel like that's kind of crazy.
About, ready to get a move on. Upon arriving, the first messenger would give the oral performance for his buddies, and then repeat the message that he came with. After memorizing the information, the next Chasqui sprinted up to 5 miles to the next station. Now keep in mind...
Do you guys ever think one of these messengers just like started a fucking world war by like getting the wrong message? Like, worst game of telephone ever, and the next thing you know, the Roman Empire is just fucking collapsing because they delivered the wrong message. I feel like that's had to have happened at some point in history.
This was the Inca Empire. It wasn't easily traversed flat road. It was pretty much uphill both ways, wobbly, cobbly stone roads 10,000 feet above sea level, on par with how our parents walk to and from school every day, or so they claim. The king said to slob his knob, and that Greg's a jerk. The fuck did I do? It's unfortunate that sometimes things get lost.
I wonder, okay, this is actually a really good question. I want you guys' opinion on it. What do you think is like the make or break point for how valuable a message is in order to send a runner with the message? Especially if there's no like written language, like you can't like write it down and like, oh, like, yeah, we'll describe the next guy to take it. Like, what's like the threshold for that message being important for that? I feel like, I don't know. It's got to be like major political decisions or like major change. I don't even know. I can't even begin to fathom like what would be important enough for all that.
In translation, but remember the first rule of exchanging information. Never shoot the messenger. Leave it to the English to come up with some spooky dooky hocus pocus type stuff.
Bro, this looks so cozy though. I don't know if this is a video game or what I'm looking at, or maybe it's an animation. This looks so cozy. Like, I would never want to live in England because they have beans and toast, and real ones know that beans and toast is like the worst meal of all fucking time. I would actually rather you just pull the plug. I would rather get hit by a car than ever have to eat beans and toast. I was watching a video yesterday where this guy was like eating an English breakfast or whatever. It was like beans. Oh my God, just kill me. Seriously. Please, I don't want to eat that shit.
If you're extremely poor and a social outcast with no lucrative or meaningful skills whatsoever, then the profession of sin eater might have been on the menu for you.
Blimey.
Historically, the job was performed throughout the early 17th century up until the 19th century, mostly in England, Scotland, and Wales. So just this area. As a sin eater, you were always on call for your services, as people have a tendency of kicking the bucket at any given time. So while you sat slapping mud around all day outside your thatched roof cottage, you could receive the news of a local death at the drop of a hat.
Oh, he's dead.
A relative or loved one would seek out your services almost immediately after the passing had passed. Once you were summoned, you'd pull up your britches and tween off screen to convene with the spiritually unclean. Arriving at the door, you politely knock before entering. You waddle inside to see your new customer and get to work. So your job as the local sin eater was to, as you could probably guess, eat the sins of the deceased, as praying and repentance apparently wasn't good enough. Now, the eating of the sins was, of course,
oh my God, fuck all that. If I died and you got Greta the Witch pulling up to my crib, bro, send her ass home. I don't know what sort of cleansing she's supposed to be doing, but if anything, she looks like the Grim Reaper herself. Like, this is what I imagine when the devil comes for me.
Symbolic in nature, but it was conducted in a literal fashion. The family of the dearly departed presented the sin eater with food, usually bread and beer. The food was placed on the chest or face of the individual right as they had passed away, supposedly sucking up all the bad juju as the soul floated to regions beyond. So, now with the food being properly seasoned with a pinch of immorality and a dash of transgression, it was time to chow down. The basic idea of the whole ceremony was that you would effectively absolve the dead of any wrongdoings.
I mean, like, okay, I'll give it to him. This is a sick ass job, dude. Imagine your full-time job just being paid to just drink and eat bread. I mean, that's the easiest job in history. I don't really like beer though, so I guess it wouldn't really be the job for me. But also, it's funny, like, looking back on all this stuff that people used to do and just, like, realize how silly and fucking stupid it is. I feel like people are going to look back, and this is, like, kind of a no-shit statement, but I feel like people are going to look back in, like, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 years and look at our time period and be like, why were these people sick in the head? Like, why would they ever do that or believe in that or whatever? I feel like it's not going to be as bad as it was in the past, but I feel like it's still going to happen. Yo, Chow, what is stuff that we do right now that people are going to look back and be like, oh my god, I actually just thought my building blew up. That scared the shit out of me. Did you guys hear that shit? Oh my god, please tell me you heard that. That actually made my nuts drop into my chest, or go into my chest. Holy shit. I actually thought we just got never mind.
Life, allowing them a clean slate departure for the heavens as a certified good.
Yo, one of these days, chat, I'm gonna get canceled, bro. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Boy. Now you're probably not surprised to learn that this was far from a Michelin-star dining experience. The bread was all stale and the beer was warm with a bunch of gross floaties in it. Perfect for the hipsters, but less than ideal for normal people. So after munching and crunching and glugging and chugging, you'd say a quick yet emotionally packed prayer. Rub-dub-dub, thanks for the grub. Yay, God. Where's the shitter? Now with a proper sense of closure, you'd receive your paltry fee and be promptly vacated.
They presented a sacrificial offering of beans on toast topped with edible glitter. I don't know why that comment made me laugh so much. Bro, imagine dying in England and you just got a guy laying, like, just lathering you up in beans and then slapping some fucking toast on your belly. Jesus Christ.
From the premises. So while your work of purifying one's soul was well appreciated, you were looked down upon, even outcasted. The belief was that you'd retain all of these absorbed sins, polluting your own soul in the process. That being the case, sin eaters were forced to live reclusive and isolated lives.
Oh, wait. There's another job that's similar to this. Or maybe it is this job. I swear to God, I've learned about this before. What's the other job that you would get, like, isolated for? I think it was, like, where did I learn about it, though? I think it was, like, in a movie or a book or something. It might have been this thing. It might be this, though. I don't know. Oh, no. It was something about, maybe gravediggers and, like, fuck, I forget what it was. I don't know. I forget. Let me shut up.
Being hated, ridiculed, and shunned by the locals. Until it was time to deep throat a sin or 12. It's not exactly clear how the tradition of sin eating was started. Some believe that it derives from the Jewish tradition of the scapegoat, a literal goat that was imbued with all of the local sins and troubles, sent out into the wilderness and actively prodded off a cliff, taking all of the town's trials and tribulations with it. Atonement complete. Thanks, Mr. Goat. As for sin eating, it seems that the tradition was finally laid to rest in the beginning of the 20th century with the death of Richard Munslow, the last known sin eater in England. He reportedly was a humble and well-loved farmer who took on the job after the premature deaths of his children. Very sad. All in all, sin eating really was a self-sacrifice when you look at it, trading in any sense of social standing for a few pence. But hey, free bread and beer. If you thought your childhood was rough, imagine dipping, diving, ducking, and dodging your way through cannon fire while slugging a
Dude, I would love to play Sea of Thieves real life simulator. I'm sorry, I would love to do this job. I know I'd get slimed instantly, and I would just get sunk. Bro, imagine being on, like, Captain Davy Jones' ship, or, like, Jack Sparrow. Oh, that's so sick.
Heavy sack of gunpowder on a ship in the middle of the ocean. That's what powder monkeys had to deal with almost on a daily basis. So while you may have been pissed at your mom for taking your Game Boy away for a few days, powder monkeys were grateful if they even saw tomorrow. Back during the Age of Sail, naval warfare was a pretty common occurrence. Ships just blasting big metal balls at each other in hopes of—
Bro, listen. This is my take of the day. Life back then, the quality of life was ass. Life expectancy was ass. But the scenarios that they were in, I would love to experience them. I mean, granted, like, I would love to experience them if I had more than one life, because I'm probably dying in 99 out of 100 of them. But this is so fucking cool. Like, can you imagine nowadays, like, this kind of shit happening? Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't, bro. Like, this is so sick.
Sinking the other guy faster or causing enough damage to warrant a surrender. In order to give yourself a fighting chance, you needed a well-trained, well-supplied crew who knew their way around cannons. Besides ammunition, the cannons needed a propellant to send those cannonballs barreling at the faces of the enemy. That propellant, of course, was gunpowder. In the heat of battle, every trained sailor needed to man their stations and execute their responsibilities in order to have a decent shot at survival. But one responsibility that didn't need much training outside of carry this shit and run over there was that of supplying powder to the cannoneers. Since there wasn't much to the job description, the task was given to young boys, usually between the ages of—
I'm sorry, if my entire lifeline depended on fucking little Timmy over here running gunpowder back and forth, go ahead and kill me, bro. Like, we're not doing that. If my life was in the hands of little Johnny, who barely even knows how to do 5 + 5, let's wrap the whole operation up. We're not doing this shit today.
12 and 14. You see, back in this time, between the 16th—
Okay, they're 12 to 14. I imagine my little brother, and he's actually a loaf of bread. Like, IQ, pile of bricks, no smarter than a pigeon. If his life was in my hands, oh my God, I would never get on that boat.
And 19th centuries, people were just cranking out kids, especially the poor. Simultaneously, nature was just cranking out infectious and deadly diseases, and industry was cranking out fatal working conditions, both of which were promptly streamlining children into the orphanage pipeline. This, of course, caused orphanages to become overburdened, and they needed some relief. And where's the best place to put able-bodied youngsters just looking for any kind of future? The military, of course. European and eventually American navies were scooping up hundreds of impoverished chaps each year and dumping them on ships to take on the role of powder monkey, more often than not against their will. But the young lads were quicker, more agile, and physically smaller than their adult counterparts, making them perfect candidates for the job. During a battle, each boy—
I find it crazy just how much, like, laws and shit have changed within, like, if you really think about it, this kind of shit was going on 100, 200 years ago. Like, isn't it crazy? Like, this sounds like, I don't know the exact way to say this, but, like, if you look at the year 1900 compared to now, you know, we're 126 years away from 1900. Like, the amount of advancements we've made in the last 126 years probably outdoes the advancements that we've made in the last 2000. Or I guess 1900 years, if that makes sense.
Would quickly carry at least 2 leather cases housing powder cartridges from the ship's powder magazine deep down in the hull all the way up to the cannons. A dangerous job for sure, but a critical one for the success of the skirmish. Oi lad, bring me that very explosive powder, eh? And be quick about it. Yes sir, right away sir. Well, that's a good lad. In exchange, the young fellows were clothed, fed, and given beds, even a little bit of education to fill their heads. The plan was to have the boys eventually become official, full-time members of the Navy, assuming that they survived to adulthood. Yet despite the fact that they were a key part of the crew, they held no formal naval rank on the ships which they served. Now, while it was nice to have a place to call home—
I mean, dude, oh my God, that kid looks like he has a fucking wife, 2 kids, and a mortgage. Can we freeze frame this and just, like, look at his face? That's not a child. That's actually the devil reincarnated as a skinwalker, zipped up in a bodysuit. What the fuck am I looking at? There's no way this kid is a day under 40. Why does he look like that? Genuinely.
Clothes on your back and food in your belly, it of course came with the steep price of witnessing the horrors of war. Just to clarify, I said that powder monkeys were usually between the ages of 12 and 14. But in reality, some were much younger, with some documentation showing cases of children as young as 7 years old.
Oh my god. I can only imagine. Like, dude, you can't even get mad at a 7-year-old if they fuck up their job either. Your ship is sinking like the Titanic, and all you gotta do is think like, man, fuck Legless Larry as you're drowning. Like, and you can't like be like, you can't blame him, bro. You can't blame him. Or I guess, sorry, not Legless Larry, other Jim.
These little guys were subjected to watching their fellow crewmen being blown to smithereens, impaled by split bits of ship, blinded by shrapnel, or having limbs ripped from rogue cannon fire. None of which they were immune to themselves, mind you. It wasn't until the end of the War of 1812 that formal regulations were put in place, preventing any recruitment of powder monkeys under the age of 12 from serving on ships in the United States. The British followed in suit with an age limit of 13 for the role, though these age restrictions were still often ignored. The practice did, however, fully die out in the mid-1800s once child labor laws were put in place and technology made the role obsolete. Sorry kids, looks like it's a big old box of PTSD for Christmas this year. Medieval medicine was wild.
Oh my god, stop. I hate this topic. I don't hate it. I just have so much to say about it. Like, this is the kind of thing that we were just talking about. It's like, people are going to look back in 100 years and think, like, why were we doing this shit? I wonder, like, what sort of medical practices we do today that in 100, 200 plus years, they're going to be like, why were they doing this? Like, oh god, this freeze frame right here is actually disgusting. Like, one of the biggest things that they used to do, and it was a practice for a long, long time, was like when people were sick, they just like cut their like skin or like arteries or whatever they're called, and like had them bleed because they thought like the infection was in their blood. It was the stupidest like solution ever.
Physicians back then were really just throwing anything at the wall to see what stuck, which led to a bunch of strange medical practices that would luckily fall out of favor once modern medicine emerged. One such practice was that of uroscopy, the art and science of checking out your pee to determine your health. Now I know what you're thinking.
We still do that though, no? Don't we still do that?
Isn't this still used in the modern day?
Where are the cameras at, bro? Well, I'm in the Truman Show, dude.
Yes, but no. Urinalysis, as it's practiced today, uses chemical, physical, and
yeah, we're gonna have to check your pee to make sure you're good to operate. I'm just gonna need you to drop the draws and let me just let it rip whenever. Just go ahead. Like, that's probably what they were doing back then. That's what I imagine they do back in the 1800s.
Microscopic analysis of urine samples to generate quantitative data for diagnosis. Uroscopy, on the other hand, well, it had dudes snooping, sniffing, and sipping your pee. Ugh.
Wow, bro. R. Kelly's roots go all the way back to like the 1800s. That's crazy.
Well, Doc? I need a second opinion. Now, you might be surprised to know that the practice of uroscopy has been around for thousands and thousands of years. The earliest known evidence that historians have dates all the way back to the 4th millennium BC, where some ancient Sumerian physicians took note of urinary color. Perhaps the most profound early evidence that we have comes from the ancient Egyptians.
God, imagine living 6,000 years ago. That's just so crazy. Bro, it's annoying because, like, we'll never know what it feels like to live back then. But, dude, God, I wish I was born when they had time travel. Or maybe I don't. Maybe that's stupid. I just wish I could experience all this stuff. Like, I just want to be there and just, like, live life for a day there. Gosh, it just seems so cool to me.
Around 1550 BC. This is the Ebers Papyrus, a 65-foot-long medical scroll from...
That is in absolutely pristine condition, may I say. I mean, granted, I see nothing but gibberish on the screen. Like, imagine having to learn this language, bro. Literally. Yeah, somebody in Twitch actually said it. Learning languages must have been difficult back then. Dude, I couldn't even imagine trying to learn this shit. This is crazy. Why is it in such good condition?
Ancient Egypt's New Kingdom
Every
era.
page, great
This
condition.
single document details over 800 diagnoses and remedies for all kinds of conditions ranging from skin problems, eye problems, burns, tumors, a limp, broken bones, backwards teeth, brown parasites, and of course, urinary conditions. The study and examination of urine continued for a while, but the formal occupation of uroscopist is believed to have been introduced between the 4th and 7th centuries in the Byzantine Empire, hitting its peak in the Middle Ages. According to medieval Welsh medical texts, it was believed that urine was the filtrate of the 4 humors: black bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood. Of course, we now know that your pee is the product of your kidneys filtering your blood and excess water, but hey, medical science was still a baby back then. Because of this theory, uroscopists believed that urine...
This is another thing I have. This doesn't really relate to, like, the video at all. But I just couldn't imagine, like, back then, like, having to come home and, like, this is your fine shit you're coming home to. Like, imagine coming home after a long day of work of fucking farming corn in the field or, what other jobs did they have back then? Fucking carpentry or some shit, and you gotta crack those buns, dude. Like, it must have stenched. It must have just stunk up the whole room, bro. Seriously. Oh, it must have been so filthy.
Was the end-all be-all for determining a person's health status.
The back shots probably sound like Chernobyl. I mean, or they don't, sorry, they probably sound like O-Block, but they smell like Chernobyl is what I meant to say.
And thus, it was the most important substance to study. The most telling quality of the urine was its color. So after collecting a fresh sample, I mean a real fresh sample, the color was immediately observed. But a problem with qualitative analysis is that it's completely subjective, whereas quantitative is objective. When it comes to subjectivity, one PP doctor may interpret the same color differently than another. For objectivity, numbers are numbers. There's no argument there. In order to mitigate subjectivity and establish some sort of consistency, the piss percipients often constructed quick reference guides to use as a standard for diagnosis, sharing their knowledge across heavily
I feel like these colors are way too close to each other. Like, out of every color on the screen, I can probably successfully point out 6 different colors. Okay, so like you got like plain white, brown, cyan, dark blue, orange, and then like holy fucking stutter, a darker orange. And then other than that, it's just like tan. Like everything's tan. I don't know.
Detailed manuscripts. As an example, if your urine was clear, you might have some spleen issues. If it was dark red, your liver's too hot. Green, you've got jaundice. Black, well, wait, is black urine a thing? Oh God.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna be doing too well if you're inking out your dink. While you had the
That's actually disgusting. Imagine going to the bathroom and you're just pissing coffee, dude. Oh God, that's so gross. That's disgusting.
Visual aspect, uroscopists also venture down the avenues of smell and taste to solidify the reasonings if a diagnosis couldn't be immediately deciphered from color alone.
Ugh.
Urine that tasted sweet was evidence of diabetes, whereas stinky pee-pee usually meant infection. Now, while this may seem silly looking at it through a modern lens, there was some validity to the practice. Uroscopists were able to properly diagnose conditions like diabetes and jaundice through their practices. Diagnosis was great and all, but without proper and effective treatment, you're not going to be making much progress, except just being closer to the grave. It's like if someone tells you, hey, your car's broken, and then proceeds to offer no meaningful solution. At that point, they're just taking the piss.
It's true.
The ultra-wealthy really love spending their money on stupid shit. They love it, in fact. When you've got more money than you could spend in 50 lifetimes, why not? Dumping the most expensive champagne on luxury watches, a 5th mansion on the beach, rigging elections, whatever tickles their sacks, but ostentatious spending.
I say that, bro. He just took my line. He literally just took my line. I'm the one that tickles the sacks, bro. I'm the sack tickler. When you need your sack tickled, you come to me, bro. Not this guy. What up, Jake?
Spending is nothing new. You see, back in the 1700s, wealthy estate owners in England, Ireland, and Scotland were bored out of their skulls. I mean, think about it. The extent of dopamine rushes back then were what? Attending yet another opulent ball, hunting some wildlife, racing a horse or two, then putting them down when they don't win.
Chad, just in case you missed it, if you guys are tuning into the stream just now, we're playing Rainbow Six Siege in T-minus like 15-20 minutes, so be there for that.
And when you felt like a real degenerate, you had excessive gambling. But these frivolous activities got stale real quick. There needed to be something fresh, something grand, something right in your own backyard. That's when the idea of the English landscape gardens started to bloom, transforming sprawling grounds of estates into picturesque and serene scenes. Replacing the clear-cut and formal gardens of their French counterparts, English landscapes—
I will say, I don't think I'm grown enough to be interested in gardening and lawn mowing quite yet. I think, dude, when I grow up, I feel like I'm already starting to get into like that dad mode where I can just really appreciate a well-mowed lawn. You guys know what I mean? Like, you ever just like, you're driving by or walking by a lawn freshly cut, it's got like the checkerboard on it, and you're just like, hell yeah, bro. Like, that's the shit I'm talking about. You gotta like stop for a second just to take this smell in. Maybe even, I've actually taken pictures of lawns before. I don't know, maybe that's too dad mode for some of you guys, for some of you youngins out there.
Were to appear engineered by nature itself, with natural slopes, ponds, groupings of trees and flowers, a nice boulder or two, and organic decoration. These established wonderful getaways for owners and guests alike to retreat and get in touch with nature. But for some, all the stone and trees and grass just wasn't cutting it. Something was missing, something human, like a person. Believe it or not, some wealthy fellas sought out to hire real-life people as decorations for their gardens. Take, for example, one Joseph Pocklington. Born into a wealthy banking family and receiving his inheritance at just 26 years old, his priority was to just spend the shit out of it. After all, what's the point of having money if you don't spend it? As my dad always tells me, you only live once, son. Enjoy it. Well, Mr. Pocklington over here made damn sure he was going to enjoy—
I feel like that's why most generational wealth never lasts. This is going to sound like a no shit kind of thing, but I feel like I always see videos talking about like, oh, like, bro, like, how did not one of my ancestors lock in and give us generational wealth? The problem is that, like, okay, generational wealth is transferable, but what's not transferable is the knowledge to keep the wealth. Like, I consider myself to be a very, like, financially smart person, and if I ever ran into like $1 billion, which I don't think will happen, but if I did, like, that's generational wealth. And I feel like, I don't know where I'd stand on it. Like, obviously I probably wouldn't spend all of it till when I die, but I highly doubt that like my descendants are gonna have the same financial responsibility and intelligence that I have. And so, like, I feel like it will just get wasted.
The life he was given. After purchasing his own private island on a lake, he commissioned the construction of his own armed fortress.
Oh my fucking god, I used to have this exact fortress. Who used to have this when they were a kid? Raise your hand right now. Comment right now. Dude. I used to have this exact fucking playset. Bro, this one and the Batman one. Y'all know which one I'm talking about. If you know, you know, bro. The Batman playset, dude, you guys, that's a crazy throwback. That's ball knowledge right there.
A druid temple and several natural grottos. In order to make the estate seem more lively, he advertised employment for a man to live in his garden, demanding that the man, quote, live for 7 years without washing or cutting his hair or nails. The man was to—
what the fuck? That sounds like some sort of fucked up fetish. I thought that was gonna be like a sick ass job. Like, you're like just living in a garden, just frolicking like a deer. Ew.
Never speak or interact with any guests, and would spend his lonely days in an artificial cave. The basic idea was for guests to observe a man in his most natural state, untouched by societal influence. If the man was able to carry out these conditions, he would be paid the equivalent of about $100,000 in today's money. Now that's spread over the whole 7 years, so it's not really that much. But the position was dubbed the Ornamental Garden Hermit. Now get this, Pocklington was not the only fella to come up with this idea. Others employed their own hermits with much more lenient rules. Perhaps the most well-known example was the Hill family from Shropshire. Their botanical bro was dubbed Father Francis, and he fully interacted with guests, told stories, and dispensed his own wisdom, all while maintaining a mysterious yet comforting presence.
Bro, these guys used to have so much aura back then. Like, every time I hear about shit like this, dude, it's like, dude, they just had so much aura. Like, I wish I could just be like 5% as cool as these guys are.
I want to see the hermit, mommy. I want to see the hermit.
The trend of the ornamental garden hermit lasted just over a century, finally being uprooted in the 1830s in favor of living statues. And to answer your question, no, garden gnomes were not inspired by the garden hermit. Those came from Germanic folklore, hundreds of years prior, but they'll still guard your garden as best they can.
If you guys enjoyed this video today, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like on it as well as subscribe to the channel. If you guys want to watch any one of my other long form YouTube videos, I'm going to leave those right up here. And if you guys haven't already hit that subscribe button, I'm going to leave the subscribe button right up here. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning into the video today, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.